In this video, let us continue working for the final by adding some details to the background clouds. So selecting the layer and going to my soft round pressure brush, I'm opening up my brush settings, taking on my shape dynamics, adding some angle and roundness jitter and size jitter with no control on front pressure, adding some scattering and a lot of scatter count jitter. Now all of this adds random variations to my brush strokes and which are really good in working with elements like clouds. So let's zoom in and start working on refining the edge. Now the extracted edge has a few sections where the color is spilling out. That is, it is still occupying the color of the image and elements of the image it was extracted from. So we can just quickly fix that by painting into the layer mask. Another thing which I frequently do is to vary my brush size, removing sections which are confusing or not really helping with the shape, softening it out so it sells better as a cloud, working on the lower edge, and now heading over to the left side. Over here we do have some slight residue along the edge of the sky from which this cloud was extracted from. So I'm using a really small brush radius to paint that out. Overall, keeping with the aesthetics of a cloud. Turning it on and off just to check. So I'm just adding a new layer and I'm going to start painting into it just to help with my shape. And I'm still using the same brush with all the settings which I showed you before. Let me rename that. Now in the hue saturation layer, just going to push my cyans up a little bit. There we go. Now it's much in sync with the shadow color. Heading over to the midground. And in the shadow mask for the midground, I'm adding a hue saturation layer on top of that, going into my blues and just taking it down ever so slightly, pushing the saturation up and darkening them. As you can see, the difference between turning on and off the shadow layer. So using a soft round brush, I'm just going to remove the effect of the shadow layer along the edge of this big wall next to the glacier, adding some bounce light from that nice cloud and refining the reflected light on the glacier as well. Sometimes while making such adjustments, I like to take a look at the whole picture, that is the whole matte painting, and see how that is being affected. Now, let me just take a look at my lighting layer, that is the midground layer with the light on it. And let's paint into that layer mask in the similar areas to what we were painting before. Now I'm using that to add a bit of stronger highlights. As you can see, following that edge there. And I'm quite soft on my pressure. There we go. Now this light is being bounced back by the bright clouds. Heading over to the left side of the midground mountains. As you can see, that definitely needs refinement. just following the edges, going over and adding more highlights indicating a really strong cliff edge. Some more highlights there, there. So what this is doing is it is giving us a nice definition of what the mountain contours are. Like sections being hit by light are standing out, adding some bright bounce light. And continuing to refine, so. Heading over to the second cliff and painting into the layer mask. It's not making much of a difference here, so we would have to come up with a different solution at this point. So let's make a new layer and just call that paint. Now this layer is not clipped, so we can paint it and change the shape the way we want. So sampling the hot color and painting along the side. Just following the light direction and what edges would be hit by it. Continuing to paint on the sides. And since now we are working for the final, we can spend enough time working on each and every part and making it as good as we can. It's that edge. Second cliff, that's what we should be calling it. And just very gently painting on top. A little bit here and just a little bit alongside. Now, since this process is getting quite repetitive, I'm going to end this video here, and between this and the next one, I'm going to spend some time continuing this process, refining this matte painting, and let's pick it up in the next one and work on the foreground section.